Hello, and welcome to another Lumberjack guide for free-to-play OSRS. In this video, we're going to be looking at the mechanics behind OSRS ranged combat. This guide aims to give you a basic understanding of how ranged works. This is a continuation of my previous video, OSRS Melee Combat Mechanics, basic guide, a link to which will be popping up on the screen now, and I'll put one in the description too, so check that out if you haven't already. Back to the business at hand. This time we'll be looking at ranged combat. Again, I'm going to add a small disclaimer up front. This guide aims to create a basic understanding of the mechanics, so I'll use approximations and simplifications to try and make things easier to understand. Let's start with a quick recap in case people haven't watched the previous video. OSRS runs on a clock or tick system. Each tick lasts for around 0.6 seconds, which roughly equates to 100 ticks per minute. Ticks can be manipulated by the player in certain circumstances, but for now, the only reason we need to know about ticks is to understand the speed of OSRS weapons/actions. Combat levels are a baseline measurement of your overall combat power. In OSRS, this is a combination of your levels in the following skills: HP, attack, strength, defense, magic, ranged, and of course, prayer. Unless you're playing specific PK or pewter builds, you don't really need to worry too much. See my previous video and I'll put a link to a useful OSRS wiki calculator in the description. The last thing I'd like to circle back to is the actual combat roles, as I did get a few comments relating to this section, so I'd just like to try and better explain it here. Basically, OSRS uses an attack and defense roll to determine if an attack hits. You should be able to see the two calculations on the screen now. These are what's called opposing rolls, i.e. the attacker and defender both have a dice roll with the modifiers as shown. If the attacker roll is higher than the defender's, then the attack is successful and a hit occurs. When a hit occurs, a second roll is made to determine damage. In OSRS, in most cases, a 0 can be rolled here, so while you may have successfully hit, you still don't actually inflict any damage on the defender's HP. The damage roll is a roll from 0 to your current max hit. There are some special weapons and bosses that have minimum hits and things, but this is beyond the scope of this video. Thankfully, ranged is a bit simpler than melee, as there is a direct correlation between the main stats and the associated effects. Firstly, we have ranged attack, which is ranged accuracy. This, as you would imagine, affects how often you will land hits against your target. Generally speaking, this is a combination of your ranged weapon and an equipment bonus provided by your armor set. Ranged strength is ranged damage. This represents the most damage you can possibly deal with a single attack and is a combination of your range level, and for bows and crossbows at least, the strength bonus is provided by the ammunition you are using. Lastly, ranged defense is, well, ranged defense. Your defense level combined with the armor you are using grant you your overall ranged defense. The higher these two values are, the less likely you are to be hit by ranged attacks. As always, your levels and combined equipment stats can be viewed by the in-game skills and equipment tab. If you plug these into the formulas from the last section, you get your attack and defense roll modifiers. Ranged strength or ranged max hit is a little more complicated, as you can see by the formula on the screen now. However, in free-to-play at least, it is very simple, and your max hit can easily be calculated using this OSRS wiki table. Simply look at your level and ammunition, and you know your max hit. Ranged equipment is similar to melee in most regards, just instead of there being 3 melee damage types, ranged is its own damage type. Equipment is split generally between weapons, ammunition, thrown weapons, and armor. Weapons such as bows and crossbows generally offer ranged attack bonus, while ammunition provides the ranged strength bonus. For example, an oak shortbow has plus 14 ranged accuracy, and iron arrows offer plus 10 ranged strength. Thrown weapons such as throwing knives are similarly different in that they offer both. As with melee, ranged weapons have a speed, and similarly to melee weapons, the lower that speed is, generally the better. Ranged weapons also have a range, usually between 6 to 10 game tiles. This can be extended up to a maximum of 10 using the long-ranged attack style. See the next section for more on this. Ranged armor starts with leather and goes up to dragonhide and beyond. The armor will offer both ranged attack and ranged defense bonuses. Ranged armor also usually offers a high magic defense and is widely used by melee players when PK, as they look to offset their weakness to magic as per the combat triangle. Just before leaving this section, it is worth mentioning about how ammunition is depleted. You will notice that as you attack an enemy, arrows, bolts, or whatever pile up in the square beneath your opponent. I would always recommend going and recovering these arrows. However, you will notice when you do that you will recover less than you fired. This is because in OSRS, every time you fire an arrow or use any ranged ammunition, there's a 20% chance of that ammunition being destroyed. A quick tip that's extremely useful here is to speak to the range tutor in Lumbridge and get auto equip turned on ASAP. This means if you pick up any arrows or bolts that match those you have equipped, it will equip them straight away rather than putting them in your inventory. All ranged weapons have 3 simple attack styles: accurate, rapid, and long ranged. The accurate style adds an invisible +3 ranged level bonus, increasing both ranged accuracy and ranged strength. When fighting in this style, you will gain 4 ranged XP and 1.33 HP XP point per point of damage you inflict. While the benefits of this style sound pretty good, most players prefer to use the rapid style. The rapid style reduces the weapon's speed by 1 tick, thus allowing you to attack more often. This is usually the attack style of choice, as when you weigh up the advantages of slightly more accuracy and max hit versus more attacks in general, it's usually the case that making more attacks will result in higher overall damage. More on this in the next section. When fighting in this style, as before, you will gain 4 ranged XP and 1.33 HP XP per point of damage you inflict. The long range style adds an invisible +3 defense levels and increases your attack range by 2 squares. Note here that this range bonus does not apply to longbows. When fighting in this style, you will gain 2 ranged XP, 2 defense XP, and 1.33 HP XP per point of damage you inflict. I would say this style is only useful if you are trying to engage at long range, i.e. an opponent is running away or far away as the fight starts. Once they're getting close, unless you really need the +3 defense bonus, it would be much better to switch to the rapid style.
Please like the video and support my content. Thank you, Noble Knight.
Just like for melee weapons, the highest possible ranged DPS is the ultimate aim, and also as before, weapon speed plays a considerable role in this calculation. So first things first, no one, and I mean no one, uses longbows unless it's a very special weapon or for a very specific purpose. For general ranged combat, always use a short bow. Yes, you lose some range, but the 25% increased speed more than makes up for this. Crossbows on the other hand are a different story. They aren't in free to play, but bolts offer significantly higher range strength bonuses versus arrows, which is enough to compensate for their all-round slower attack speed. To work out your exact DPS, the equation on the screen now will show you how to do this. However, as before, I don't recommend you do this as it's a bit of a time sink and probably only worth doing to compare mid to end game equipment combinations, check training enemies, etc. Even then, I'm not sure I'd personally bother. To get a rough and ready estimate, all you need to do is track your XP using the RuneLite XP tracker, then divide your XP rate by 240. Hey presto, you have your estimated DPS. Equally, if you look to understand the concepts covered so far, and so use the right combination of combat style, skill level, weapon and equipment, you should be able to get very close to your maximum DPS without having to calculate. To try and bring all this together, let's do a quick example. Let's take 2 players, one at the start of the game, at level 1 ranged, and one at the end of free to play, at level 40 ranged. For each, we will detail their stats as a result of their ranged level and equipment, calculate their respective max hits, and their resultant DPS. First up is our level 3 account. He's rocking full leather armour, a crossbow and bronze bolts. Just for clarity, I'm using this crossbow and bolts as an example. I wouldn't recommend using crossbows in free to play or using bronze, as you don't see the big ranged strength bonuses until iron bolts. So first up, this is what his experience screen looks like. You can see we have a ranged attack bonus of +17, a ranged strength bonus of +10, a ranged defense bonus of 14, and a weapon speed of 3.6 seconds. For this scenario, we are going to attack in the accurate style. For demonstration purposes, you'll see why shortly. Combining these stats with our ranged level of 1 and defense level of 1, then plugging them into the equations, we get an attack modifier of 972, a defense modifier of 780, and a max hit of 1.88, which is 1 as we always round down. We can now use this information to calculate our DPS. For this example, let's use a level 2 goblin, as these would be within scope for our plucky level 3. The goblin's defense roll has a defense modifier of 490. This all then combines to give us a DPS versus a level 2 goblin of 0.104. What if we attacked in the rapid style, I hear you say? Well, our ranged attack modifier would be 729. This would make our new DPS 0.11. Let's take a second to compare these two values. 0.104 accurate versus 0.11 rapid. This shows that mathematically, despite the extra 3 invisible range levels, rapid offers a higher DPS, which reinforces the advice I gave you earlier, that unless it's for a specific purpose, always use the rapid ranged attack style. Now let's move on to the level 40 account. He's rocking full green dragonhide, a maple shot, and steel arrows. This is what his equipment screen looks like. You can see we have a ranged attack bonus of plus 68, a ranged strength bonus of plus 16, a ranged defense bonus of 64, and a weapon speed of 1.8, thanks to our rapid attack style. If we plug in our ranged level of 40 and defense level of 40, we get an attack modifier of 7,200, a defense modifier of 6,272, and a max hit of 6.5, which is 6 as we always round down. Did you spot the deliberate mistake? Well done if you did. If not, reference the max hit table for bows. In free to play, this shows me that at his current level, he will have the same max hit of 6 for iron, steel, and mithril arrows. Thus, I should be using iron arrows due to their decreased cost. Looking at the table, I wouldn't see any benefit from steel arrows until my range level was 44. Anyway, back to our calculation. As we did for our level 3, we can now use this information to calculate our DPS. Let's use a bigger challenge, say a level 42 Moss Giant. The Moss Giant's defense roll has a defense modifier of 2,496. We can then combine all this to give us a DPS versus a level 42 Moss Giant of 1.38. As you can see, a much better equipped and higher level character generates a much higher DPS. In this case, around 12 times higher. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope that this whistle stop guide of OSRS ranged combat is useful and helped to shed some light on what's happening behind the scenes and how you can maximise your character's performance. Please leave a comment with any feedback or questions, as I'm keen to hear them. And all left for me to say is, I've been the Lumberjane, peace out and thanks for watching.